Hello everyone, welcome back to ESL R1, sponsored by Aramco. I am still Arjuna Kankipati. George Morgan is left, Lewis McLeod is here, and Lewis, it's the final drivers getting ready to go in the team championship.
Yeah, certainly so. I am definitely stood on the step, by the way. He is quite tall. But no, of course, we're heading into the final stage of this, the final time that we get to see the teams and who's going to be inside the top 6. So it means we've got time for our final drivers, all 12 of them. This is a strong, strong group.
This is the one that we had dubbed the group of death yesterday, but in the end, Josh Rogers made it look rather simple. Not necessarily thinking we're going to see the same thing today, especially given Max Benecca, our ESL R1, sponsored by Aramco Drivers Champion.
Yeah, certainly so. And of course, there are some drivers in this that need to do a very, very solid job. Of course, for the likes of Williams, Daniel Pajtor behind the wheel, he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. It's going to be really tricky for him. Williams Esports are above the cut line, but not by very much, 9 points. And when you've got Team Redline bringing along Enzo Benito, you've got G2 Esports below the cut line, bringing along Sebastian Job. This is not going to be easy as qualifying is underway.
And what a qualifying session we had to close out yesterday with our drivers champions. 3 drivers in finalist mode: Rogers, Rietveld, and Benecca. Rogers with a blistering lap time to be able to grab the pole, a 1:52.7, the fastest lap we have ever seen here at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, I remember seeing those sector times coming in. Me, George, and Jards were sat behind the scene in our green room, and it was just sort of like the first sector, whoa, the second sector, oh my goodness, and then suddenly crosses the line to set that kind of lap time. Absolutely mega. Is he going to be on course to do that one again? Well, the answer's not looking bad in the first sector. A 36.1, that's pretty handy regardless.
Don't necessarily think that's quick enough for him to really be thinking about 1:52.7, but it's that middle sector where maybe the Porsche can dance its way through some of these corners, climbing our way up into that Michael Schumacher-S, of course, where going to straddle that curb on the right-hand side, very much maximize the entry into the corner. Don't want to get a slowdown penalty. Oh, I think Rogers just about close. Straddled that line of perfection.
That was close. We've seen Dara McCormack and Luke Bennett, of course. Luke Bennett was the one to exceed there back on Thursday. This is looking pretty tidy for Joshua Rogers. He's come over the second sector split. We want to see this one around about the 47.3 mark. Bang on. I think this is aiming more to be a 52.9 rather than a 7.
I think 1:52.95. We're in that sort of a ballpark right now. We'll see what Rogers can do. That might still be good enough for pole. It has been good enough for pole in the past, going back as far as to the Spring Major. Here comes, though, the king of qualifying. When the pressure is on, this man delivers. Can he do so once again? Dane Warren already grabbing another victory for the Porsche Coanda Esports squad just a moment or so ago. Ooh. It's not going to be a 52.9, but it's a 1:53.005.
I'm not even sure that'll be pole position at this kind of rate. Better first sector from Maximilian Benecca. Second sector in the kind of ballpark as well. This is almost certainly sub 53. This is aiming in the 52. Slams over the curb going through the NGK chicane. Up towards the final corner. 1:53.005 to beat is surely in the 52s. A 0.9. If it's a 0.8, that's definitely a contender from pole position. But can Benecca deny Rogers? He's done so many times in his career. Will he do so now? Across the line by 3,000 a second. He doesn't. Oh my goodness, that's close.
And did he lose it in that final sector where the Audi over the curbs at the NGK chicane? It's one of the few places where it maybe struggles. Look at Toman, the next Audi, to clatter his way through that NGK chicane. One final sector to go. The first and second sectors very quick, but maybe trending the opposite way of Rogers to once again slip behind that number 92. It's going to be the RAG 18 that powers to that start-finish line, and it's going to be another 1:53.0, but it is now almost 1 full tenth off of Rogers.
Yeah, that was, again, pretty tight. Looking good through the sectors. Kaiki Oliveira will be the next one to come through. First sector a little bit off where we're looking for. Second sector again a little bit off, but those are the times that I've written down to put you into the 52.9s. I think this might be faster than Yuri Toman. It should be slower than Benecca and Rogers though, so the Furia car will come through the final corner. What a turnaround it's been for Oliveira since we left Katowice and did the online season. Looked really strong throughout that. Has he looked strong this weekend? The answer's not today, potentially, for Furia. 4th position in this qualifying session. I think we'll be seeing the end of those today.
I think for Redline, they need Enzo Benito to run well. They are just inside of the top 6 in points. However, it is not guaranteed given what a struggle it has been for them today. That first sector about a 10th off. The second sector, though, right on the money in that BMW. And as it runs to the line, the Italian looks his way to the line. And it's 4th hundreds off, but Enzo Benito brings the BMW into the mix.
Well, we said we might need a mega lap from Daniel Pajor. Imagine the pressure on his shoulders right now. Williams Esports on the cusp of not making it through to tomorrow's action. He'll come through that final chicane. The first sector's a little bit off. The second sector is on the money. He'll come through the final corner at turn 15 and punch his way out towards the line. He was a little bit wide there, though. I think it's going to be ahead of Oliveira, but potentially behind Toman. And let's see where he slots in. It is exactly where I said it was. 5th place might not be good enough.
We're going to have to wait and see how much work Pastro still has to do. It's going to be Ferris Stanley, the Indonesian for BMW Team BS Plus competition. They don't make it easy for us with that particular team name. First sector about 2/10 off. The middle sector about a 10th off, trending closer to Oliveira, about a quarter of a second. Currently splits the top 6 drivers as they run right now. But we've got Joe, we've got Fluke, Carroll and Fiduci's. Still plenty of strong drivers to come. A shake of the head from Ferris Stanley, and it is slowest of them all.
Well, Ferris Stanley, like you say, setting that time 7th place. Sebastian Job, though, might not be setting the slowest time. It might well be the fastest time. The first sector's good. The second sector's really good. Better than what we were expecting to see. So for G2 Esports, who find themselves below the cut line, 5 points arrears of Team Redline. They'll come through the final corner, and Sebastian Job needs to do something special here. If we can see him on the front row, maybe the front couple, this could be good for G2. He goes to 5th behind Yuri Toman and Enzo Benito. You can see the frustration there for Job.
It was all in that final sector as well, just not the tidiest. For Mikel Gala, can he be a little bit more tidy? First sector, maybe half a 10th off. Middle sector, once again, is on the money. And for Heroic, they have consistently, in the later stages of our spring season, been able to bring the speed to match the likes of Porsche Coanda Esports. Not sure if Mikel Gala is going to be able to challenge Josh Rogers, but let's see as he powers out of that final corner. At the line, it's a 153.2. Another driver losing 3/10 in the final sector.
Yeah, well, that is big. Heroic have a chance of getting through, but they're 20 points below the cut line, so they need to do a lot of work. This team's had some good performances today, mostly courtesy of Kevin Ellis Jr., but they are struggling below the cut line and comfortably below it now. First sector actually really quite good there for Jamie Fluke. The second sector losing a little bit. It's kind of on the money to be around the Sebastian Job, Yuri Toman, Enzo Benito mark, but I think because that final sector is a bit of a struggle for the Audi R8, might actually find himself around Daniel Pajor. Out towards the line, Jamie Fluke will go, and just behind Pajor it is.
Look at you, right on the money.
Of course I am.
A broken clock's right twice a day, right?
I've been right a few times this session, I'll have you know, Arjuna.
That's
We're
true.
We're have some fisticuffs in this session.
Oh, you believe me, you and me. That is a slowdown for Gianmarco Fiduci. The middle sector was already about half a second off the pace. And Fiduci, who completed 4 laps on Thursday, well, it's not starting off well for him on Saturday.
Oh no, that was a brutal performance. Gianmarco Fiduci, like you say, he'll come across the line, just struggling in that final sector. Big shame for him. One final time left to do in the session, and this time it'll be Graham Carroll for the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Esports team. Those sectors aren't looking great.
But for Mercedes-AMG Petronas, they are 3rd provisionally in points right now. For Graham Carroll, as long as he's somewhat in the midfield and stays out of trouble, hopefully enough for the Arrow 3-pointed star to make its way into tomorrow's finals. It's a 153.5. It's definitely not quick, and it's the slowest of the representative times. Carroll's going to have a whole lot of work to do from 11th, and he can tell how hard it's going to be. But at the very front of the field, it's yet another ALJ fastest qualifying lap for Joshua Rogers in the Porsche Coanda Esports number 92.
Yeah, this may be the group of death, but of course, Joshua Rogers is the very, very best. I mean, starting from the front again.
Gianmarco Fiduci, well, he'll line up from the very back. Graham Carroll will be alongside, while Ferris Stanley inside of Kake Oliveira. Mikel Gala and Jamie Fluke line up on row 4, while Daniel Pastro has some work to do for the Mercedes-AMG Team Williams Esports. He'll line up in 6th spot. Sebastian Job slightly disappointed with his final sector, but he got 3rd over here in day number 1 of the competition. What can he do here on day number 3? Yuri Toman, Enzo Benito, row 2, while Max Benneker and Josh Rogers, the rivals that went at it yesterday for the $400,000 prize pool, now get ready to represent Porsche Coanda and Mals in the battle for $600,000. But ultimately, it's Josh Rogers once again, the quickest of them all.
Yeah, certainly so. Of course, Benneker really challenged him there, and I'm sure we'll challenge him through the race. But it is, of course, Joshua Rogers, ALJ fastest qualifying lap here in the 7th race on Saturday before we get ready for Championship Sunday. This is a man that means business.
Let's talk about our LG driver to watch as well in this final group, because Max Benneker is our ESL R1 sponsored by Aramco Drivers Champion. And what a final race we had here at the Nürburgring yesterday. Yes, there was so much drama between Jeffrey Rietveld and Joshua Rogers, but Max Benneker did not let that get to him, and he was able to swoop his way to his first major championship win.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it feels right sometimes for Benneker. He won the very first time we went racing in ESL R1. Of course, that opening round of the spring season back in Katowice, and again showing that form. Second place in this qualifying session though, Mouse in a position in fourth, of course, in the team's championship, but that only actually puts them around 11 points clear of the cut line. A mistake in this race and Mouse could very easily find themselves down below it. It is tight there, particularly between 4th and 7th.
Yeah, look at those points, and remember, maximum of 50 points to be won from this point forward. So effectively everyone is still in the mix, but some with less of a mathematical chance than a...
Come on, Gianmarco.
Well, more of a hope. Gianmarco's got too much work to do, I think, for FaZe Clan. Of course, we had a great chat with Crimsix just a moment ago. Redline, Williams, Mouse. 3 teams that are currently on the bubble. G2 Heroic, the teams on the wrong side, although I think you'd have to say Heroic have a much harder task. It's G2 that we've really got to watch.
Yeah, it certainly is. G2, they're just below it. Sebastian Jobe's behind the wheel. He's qualified in 5th place. We know Jobe is fast. We've seen him be extremely fast. When he made his debut around this circuit in the online season as well, he showed some incredible form straight away. I think he'll be showing that here. I'm looking at those, particularly those 4 teams, Mouse, Williams, Redline and G2, and I promise you, I cannot pick which one is not making it into tomorrow.
Regardless of what happens, a big name is going home today. Yeah. That is what is going to be one of our major storylines. I'll just say again for Max Benneker, his first major championship win, but don't forget his other titles, the likes of the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland Esports a couple of years ago when he was battling with Diogo Pinto, who then went on to become his Team Redline counterpart. Drivers get their final moments of practice and now get ready to sit on that grid for the penultimate race of this first day of Team Championship action.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting indeed. It is a long run down towards T1. It is going to be a tense run down into a very tight corner, Arjuna.
Here we go. These drivers have 2 opportunities to punch their team's way into Championship Sunday. The lights will come up once again. The engines build at the Nürburgring. Lights go out and away we go. It's a great drop from Josh Rogers, who will lead them down the hill in towards turn number 1. But Max Benneker immediately in the slipstream will poke his way to the outside. Watch as Redline and RAG2 battle behind. It's too wide, about 5 rows deep. Jobe goes aggressive, but Benneker's got to watch out as Rogers starts to run away.
Yeah, Pajda also quite deep there into T1, making contact with the G2 Esports car. They're side by side here as going around the outside. RAG just about trying to make it stick. It's fantastically close. And of course, RAG car's just going to come out on top. Enzo Benito just getting pushed out wide, but that is about as close as it gets. They're still side by side coming down towards Ford and Valvoline.
Sebastian Jobe watches as finally Enzo Benito will tuck back into line. Rogers through the opening set to already build 7/10 of an advantage, and it means Benneker's giving more draft to Yuri Toman that he's gaining from Rogers in front. Down the hill into that Dunlop hairpin, where you've got to be careful not to go that little bit too deep to open the door to invite the sense from behind. A little bit defensive from Benito. Doesn't want to let the fellow BMW of Sebastian Jobe work on forward. And again, just to point out that we're going to be talking about tyres as we get to the end of this 8-lap race.
Yeah, certainly so. It is a tyre killer, this circuit. You really do lean on the rears for everyone except the Mercedes that leans on the front for Daniel Pajda, although things aren't looking great. Drop down to 7th position. Mikael Garfa, Heroic, working his way through. Now, whilst they are ahead of one of the teams that's inside that top 5, the top 6 rather, that's not great, because the 5 teams that are really close, including those 2 that they might be able to overtake being G2 and Redline, wow, they're 4th and 5th right now. They are ahead of Daniel Pajda.
What did Josh Rogers do yesterday? He made the group of death look like the easiest group of them all. He's going to pull away. Jamie Fluke is going to pull to the inside because Kake Oliveira is looking aggressive as they shape through that final corner. Fluke going to get on the power that little bit earlier, prevent Oliveira from carrying as much momentum across the line. But it's in towards turn number 1, down the hill where ABS will maybe allow the Brazilian to make a move. Fluke once again going defensive. The Furia car alongside and nosing in front down the hill. But now Fluke Going to try and get the elbows out on the exit and into turn 2. The BMW still there.
Yeah, there was also side-by-side between Enzo Benito and Sebastian Job. We need to look further up the order because Redline and G2 are going side-by-side. This is big for the championship. Whilst we've got this on screen, we must look forward because it's so tight between Benito and Job. They're side-by-side coming out the arena section, and look at this. Here comes Job.
What a move from Job to set this up, and now as the BMWs lean on one another, Job's got to be careful. Room left, yes, but now inside, Job finally has the opportunity to get up into 4th.
Yeah, fantastic stuff there from Sebastian Job. Unfortunately, we didn't see the entirety of the move, but Enzo Benito then dropped down into 5th team. Redline could be under a lot of pressure here. Enzo Benito knows what he needs to do. He fires it into Dunlop, tries to get around the outside of the hairpin as we start the climb up towards the Michael Schumacher rest. There is a look over the shoulder of Sebastian Job, remaining as calm as ever, but watch his mouth as we head into the Schumacher rest. He is concentrating.
And as this stands right now, I think this is enough for G2 Esports to leapfrog Team Redline in the point, and it's going to potentially come down to the final race. I guess in some ways, we talk about the group of death. We're not so worried about drivers advancing from here. It's the group of death for the teams.
Yeah, certainly so. It is incredibly close from this grouping. You know, this is, like I say, it's why we call it the group of death. There are so many big names in it. It was interesting that Williams Esports decided to switch Dara McCormack and Daniel Pajtor. That is it was an interesting call that might well be rude later on. That's the problem, is that you may look back at it and think, ooh, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Well, Dara McCormack at the very least was able to deliver when he was given the opportunity to maybe drive tracks that he was more comfortable with. A 1st and a 4th position. Daniel Pajtor tucked back in 7th right now. He's still right on board with Sebastian Job. Really revving that gearbox to the top of 5th and then down into 1st as they dive down once again into the opening corner. Top 2 are breaking away. Benneker's been able to hold with Rogers, but it's Yuri Toman, a bit of a cork in the bottle as they run with Sebastian Job.
Yeah, certainly. So this is very, very close. Of course, there's still 2 races left to go. This one plus 1 more. So there's plenty of time for drivers to respond, to react, to do something special as well. It is going to be very, very tough. These drivers have so much pressure on their shoulders because I've said this time and time again, I would not want to be in this last group because you're the decision maker. I mean, I feel so bad for Daniel Pajtor right now because he's got... if they go through or not, then they're just not going to move through. It's all up to Pajtor.
I think right now it's Williams on the wrong side of the bubble, but ultimately we've still got that final race to come where with these drivers over at Spa, a track where draft plays so strongly, we know we're going to be in for excitement. Spa has been the home of so much entertainment. Ultimately, we keep talking about that. Sebastian Job working on Yuri Toman. If he can get to 3rd, start to build a bit of a buffer, leave Enzo Benito behind, those are 3 valuable points he can add to the tally for G2.
Big time. Unfortunately, there's a 2-second gap up towards Maximilian Benneker. Joshua Rogers and Benneker checking out from the field. Like I say, they are, as they did on Thursday actually, they're making this group, the group of death, look like child's play right now. They are so, so strong. Benneker was fantastic yesterday, and that is why he's hanging on to 2nd position right now. Yuri Toman 2.2 seconds back. Then we get Sebastian Job, Enzo Benito, Mikael Gard, Daniel Pajtor, and Kaiki Oliveira, Jamie Fluke, and Ferris Stanley. To be fair, they're all involved in the train. Only 1 second back from that is Fiducci.
You do see, by the way, on the wrist of Max Benneker, he's got an Apple Watch. What do you think his heart rate's at right now? He looks pretty calm.
110.
Well, a little bit higher, I'm sure, for Sebastian Job. Down the inside into turn number 1. How defensive is Yuri Toman really going to be? Job's going to run him out of room as they dive down the hill and up into turn 2. Job grabs 3rd.
Yeah, good move from Sebastian Job. He's working his way forward again, gaining an extra 3 points for the team, moving G2 potentially into a little bit of safety tomorrow. This was the thing that was the concern for Williams Esports. It's not about you know, the big results being lost. It's about the fact that, you know, G2, they've got Sebastian Job in this race. Here's a look at their move on Enzo Benito, straight down the inside of the first corner is what we missed earlier on, and then around the outside of the Mercedes Arena section. Bit of leaning on with the 2 of them. Brilliant stuff. Oh,
you can tell that these 2 know how to race, that's for sure, and it's here that really initially we saw the charge from the G2 car really diving up the inside, and crucially for Benito, that is running the regular racing line. He's not using one of his 4 cut tracks to go a little bit wide.
Yeah, again, I mean, as much as this could come down to penalties, but still, this is this is the kind of racing we want to see. Brilliant side-by-side for that first sector. Ended as they went through Ford Valvoline out towards the Dunlop hairpin. Then Sebastian Job got past Yuri Toman, and that's how he finds himself in 3rd position. I get the feeling that 2nd or 1st is a little bit too far down the road, but he's already started checking out from Yuri Toman.
Let's talk about Sebastian Job's Thursday, because the first race went relatively well, but then much like Dara McCormack did in qualifying for the first race, Sebastian Job bolted it a little bit in qualifying for the second race, and a driver that I think came here expecting to be part of our Drivers' Championship final, not part of that. He will want to make sure qualifying next at Spa. No such dramas for him. We saw it further back, by the way. Talked about the train going from third all the way to maybe a 12th position. They're starting to get a bit antsy.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, with Sebastian Job, by the way, it was that Spa race where obviously he had those issues. It was at Spa. He finished in 6th position in the race, so still decent, but it wasn't good enough. A 3rd and a 6th for him back on Thursday, not enough to progress. Well, he's finishing 3rd in the first race, so maybe this is saying what could be happening in future. Big dive down the inside from Kaiki Oliveira and Mikael Gall. That'll remove the pressure from Daniel Pastro, who's actually found himself up the order because he's been told by race control to give up that position to Daniel Pastore.
And so race control, like we mentioned, staying on top of everything, and in that heroic Porsche will have to at least gets the opportunity to fight on back. It could have been a drive-through, it could have been a slow-down time penalty as well. That, of all the penalties you can get, is the least harsh.
Yeah, certainly so. And again, it's an extra 2 points to Williams Esports. We were saying this earlier on. The cut-off will potentially come down to a point. It might even be less than that. I don't even know. Was there a tie break?
Well, if it's a tie break, how are we doing that? We did it with a shootout.
We did it with a shootout in the I mean, I want to see a 4v4 shootout.
Do we average out their lap times? I think that's what we should do.
No, I think we 1v1 on each of the circuits between each of the drivers. That would be sick.
Okay, to be clear, that's not how it's going to work. But
no, it's not, but that would be so good.
We are dreaming just a little bit here. We did think we were going to have I thought we were going to have a tiebreaker on Thursday. I don't feel like we're going to get a tiebreaker today. I just get that sense that we will get some definitive results come the end of that race at Spa. Halfway through this one, they're working onto that back straightaway to end lap number 5. Still Rogers and Bennica 1 and 2. They're not going to battle. We know that. Ultimately, it's for Benito, where he's got to get a little bit closer to Yuri Toman to get those points on the board for Redline.
Yeah, Benito's got to get aggressive here. He's got to try something. Redline find themselves in a bad position right now. Daniel Pastore, who we're on board with here, might have to get himself a bit aggressive. A look down the inside into the final corner there from Enzo Benito, the Italian trying to make something. He's like, oh, there's been a mistake from Pastore, as there's been a squeeze up as well. Mikael Gall's got his way through, and Kaiki Oliveira might be into the mix as well. And
it's going to be potentially now a worry for Pastore that here comes the send from Oliveira. 3 abreast in towards turn number 1. They will go again. Fury is going to get the elbows out with Mikael Gall in that heroic car, and it's an oh-no from Lewis as Williams start to drop, and Daniel Pastore almost down to 10.
Yeah, I get the feeling we might not be able to see Williams progressing through into Sunday. This is looking pretty dire for them. They need some good luck. They might well be getting it as well. Ahead of them, there's a bit of contact between those ahead. Mikael Gall, Jamie Fluke, as well as Kaiki Oliveira, all coming together out wide. They go on the exit of the Mercedes Arena section, and Daniel Pastore's trying desperately to get anything onto the score sheets. At the moment, he's in 9th. He's not scoring enough.
Oh, you can tell this is tense right now as Pastore just tries to give himself enough room to get to the inside of that 58. He's also coming under fire from Ferris Stanley, Gianmarco Fatucci, and Graham Carroll. As we said, the train runs from 4th to 12th, and that's why the racing is so intense. Benito now, importantly, under less pressure since Pastore slipped back to 9th.
I mean, look. Basically what we're seeing here is there is going to be a team very, very upset in about an hour and a half's time. Once we've dealt with this race, once we've dealt with the final race, I don't know which team it is. At the moment, you'd have to point the finger towards Williams, but who really knows what's going to happen in the next race? Spa's a different circuit. There's different pressures on at that one. And hey, maybe Daniel Pastore will find something extra within himself and push himself faster than he ever could go.
We always talk about this Mercedes using the fronts more than the rears. That means that it understeers a little bit more at the end. It's a struggle to get it turned in. You've got to bleed off a little bit more of the speed. And as the heroic 58 goes a bit defensive, Pastore continues to just watch and wait for the opportunity. Ferris Stanley's continuing to lurk, by the way, as they head into that final corner. But it is going to be with 2 laps to go. And 2 laps where Daniel Pastore surely has got to get up to the front of this queue. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, half a second at the front of the field. We said it before, that gap's not going to change. Maybe Bennica will try something late on, but it won't be too risky. If there's a bit of slipstream and there's a bit of a look, they're both not going to risk anything. They're not silly, but they do want to win. Behind all of that, that's where all the question marks is. Into the rear end, Ferris Stanley goes of Daniel Pastore. It's actually just pulled him off of the grouping behind. Maybe they need to get a little bit lucky from race control if anything's to happen here from Williams. That's what they might be hoping for.
I was just about to bring up that if you are Rogers and Bennica, the one thing you don't want to do is get tangled up and get penalty points, because With Peter Berryman getting a qualifying ban today, only one of the team drivers was penalized. Tomorrow, with the penalty points continuing to accumulate, when we have 2 drivers from each team in a race, if one driver gets a qualifying ban, well, sorry, the other one is 2.
Yeah, you win as a team, you lose as a team, and that is what this competition is all about. We've had the Drivers' Championship, we've dealt with that, we've been selfish already. Now it's time to focus on the team game and pushing it forward for the betterment of all of them. That's why the prize pool's mega for this. $600,000 they'll be fighting for tomorrow. Yeah, it's big. 250,000 of that is going towards the winner.
$250,000, and it's life-changing for the drivers to be able to get not just an opportunity but the financial boost as well. It's the same for the teams. Of course, the Porsche Coanda Esports Group, not the only to have a facility from which the drivers operate. Redline increasingly doing that as well. Apex, Altus, there are so many teams in the sim racing world that continue to try and develop those opportunities, and $250,000 will go a long way to giving you some better programs. It's Benito, though, that tries to get to the inside of Toman, but into the NGK chicane, coming to the final lap. Benito running out of time.
Yeah, certainly so. It was Benito there with a bit of a mistake. Oh, as Yuri Toman had an issue, and here comes Enzo Benito. He's going to work his way through into 4th position. That could be massive, absolutely massive for Team Redline. Up in the 4th, Enzo Benito goes. Yuri Toman, who is driving for RAG, who's basically safe right now. He doesn't need to take any risk.
Yuri Toman in that RAG car is the one that wants 0 penalties at the he could drop to the back and RAG should still be good. That is the advantage they have, but he looks to the inside. He's a racing driver. He forces Benito to give him the space. He forces Benito to give him respect, but Benito says, not on my watch. I've got the inside through the arena.
This could work though for Yuri Toman. He's just being squeezed out wide. That could be bad for Enzo Benito. Kaiki Oliveira also into the scene for Furia. He's driving it in a little bit too deep. Big oversteer for him as he's dropping it in on the brakes. They exit the Mercedes arena section. The move is complete from Enzo Benito. It might be a little bit of drama though from Yuri Toman, because here comes the Furia driver of Kaiki Oliveira.
Oh, that was beautiful to see the setup through the Mercedes-Benz arena, and now outside switches back to inside in towards turn number 6. We're going to see Oliveira surely get in front of Yuri Toman. It's up here at the front though, where in through that Dunlop hairpin, it still continues to run 1 and 2.
Yeah, I don't know why we pulled away from Toman versus Oliveira. That battle was fantastic. It is Toman remaining ahead of Kaiki Oliveira. Jamie Fluke behind all of that. We're looking at 2 cars driving around basically by themselves with definitely no move on the horizon on the final lap, whilst all the battling's happening behind.
Lewis McLean gets his wish granted, back to the battling behind. Daniel Pastor in 9th position, and I said he wanted to work his way to the front of this train. Well, what, 4 more corners to go. He's going to be lucky to hold on to the spot, you'd have to think. Ferris Stanley behind, looking aggressive as well.
Yeah, this is a great battle. It really is. We're in the dying moments. We're looking at the final teams to potentially progress their way through. It's been thrilling stuff. They come up towards NGK. Nothing's happening between our leaders, but there could be drama in this. One mistake and it could change everything, Arjuna.
Oh boy, we've got one more 15-minute race to go before 6 teams eliminated, 6 teams confirmed to fight on Championship Sunday for their share of $600,000. Beneka and Rogers, though, at the front will take Porsche Coanda and Mouse 1 step closer to that Championship Sunday. 5 odd seconds clear of the rest of the field. Joe from Benito from Toman will complete the top 5. Oliveira gets 6th. Daniel Pastor in that Williams car down in 9.
Yeah, that's a big shame for Williams. Big drama for them. It could be a big hit, but what a superstar Joshua Rogers is. What a battle it could be tomorrow between Mouse, between Porsche, between Team Redline. We're not done yet though. There's still 1 race, and trust me, everything can change. It only takes 1 corner and 1 mistake to change history.
It is 2 consecutive wins once again for the Porsche Coanda Esports squad, and it comes from 2 Australians. A German manufacturer, you'd think you maybe have a few more European drivers, but there's something in the water down under.
Look at this though, the instant support. Joshua Rogers wins, Mac Backham comes over, Mitchell de Jong comes over, Nina there looking over. We've already had a bit of a catch up with her. Again, it's a fantastic team. They're a well-oiled machine.
Pump of the fist and a smile from Josh Rogers. In all of the hero shots he gave us, not 1 iota of a smile.
No, he's a calm lad at the end of the day. Will Chadwick obviously down there to Gianmarco Verducci in the background. Cheeky selfie as well there. We should take one later on.
No.
No? No. Are we not on that brigade? We're not social media experts?
We're just joshing around here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I teased you for, being right twice, apparently. We'll get to chat with Josh Rogers in just a few moments' time. Plenty of drama in that team championship, and let's work through some of the highlights. 3 wide into turn number 1, and Kake Oliveira, I mean, he wanted to make that opening corner his.
Yeah, and that's where Daniel Pastor lost out a couple of positions, up and under from Jamie Fluke as well, picking up 1 position, almost 2 as well. The overhead shot can really see this one pieced together I feel like I'm playing Micro Machines or something. The racing's so tight and crazy here. Jamie Fluke dropping back to the rear end of that field. Great stuff between the lot, but once again, bad for the Williams team.
You questioned the decision to get Dara McCormack swapped out with Daniel Pastor. McCormack was able to deliver with the first and the fourth. It's now all on Daniel Pastor in that final race to bring Mercedes AMG Williams back. Let's go to Josh Rogers, though, as he chats with our hosts.
How you going? Nah, I'm not going to do it again. Nearly got you. Dane said it. He said we should just sit back, watch and enjoy Josh do his thing. And that's exactly what I think we did. How did you feel throughout that? You were, in fact, under some pressure throughout, but were you comfortable?
Yeah, it was okay. Obviously, I did feel the pressure from Max there, especially towards the end. The tires started to go, and I was trying to kind of figure out my all my settings and stuff to try and, I guess, just improve the balance and improve my confidence, especially under brakes into turn one. But yeah, all in all, obviously happy to get the win. Managed to convert from pole, unlike last night. So yeah, that's a good one. Good points for the team, and we'll look for another solid result and lock ourselves into tomorrow.
بالضبط اللي سواه جاش راجرز قدر يحقق النصر مرة ثانية، وسألناه أنه من جد كيف كان شعورك، خصوصا أن الانتصار هذا يعني بعد ما قال لنا الزميلة قبل بالفريق قال لنا استمتعوا في المقابلة الماضية، قال استمتعوا باللي راح يقدمه لنا جاش في السباق الجاي، وفعلا هذا اللي سواه، فعلا أبدع في السباق وقدر يحقق النصر، وقام قال بكل صراحة كان تحت ضغط كبير، وحاول أنه يتواكب كل الإعدادات اللي موجودة له في السباق عشان يقدر يحقق النصر. وفعلا هذا اللي شفناه منه سوى اللي عليه واكثر حتى.
Josh, you've already mentioned you want to lock in another good result. Spa's up next, iconic track. Now, I kind of want to get a sense of your confidence. Let's do a little prediction. Why not? Top two, at least?
Obviously, I'd like that, right? But it's...
No, not I'd like that. I want a sense of the I feel like everyone is like, it's Josh. He's in our group. Oh no, we're in trouble. So, okay, top three?
Look, let's say I like top five, but it's difficult to say because it's such a competitive field. Spa is a track I feel quite comfortable at, but at the same time, I feel like there's quite a few other guys that are comfortable there too. And with the draft in the race, literally anything can happen. So yeah, it's tough to say, but I'd be happy with a top five, and I think that would be enough to put us through to tomorrow. So that can be the goal.
نبغى نعرف أداء جاش في المضمار القادم اللي هو سبا كيف راح يكون برضو بالنسبة له، فاحنا قلنا له هل بتكون المراكز الاثنين الأولى؟ قال كان بيصير شوي يعني حرفيا دبلوماسي في الإجابة، قلنا له لا عطنا الزبدة يعني هل الثلاث مراكز الأولى؟ قال أوكي يمكن الخمس مراكز الأولى اللي ممكن أكون فيها، فيقول فيها أشياء جدا صعبة وراح التنافس يكون فيها جدا صعب من الفرق المشاركين معه، كلهم راح يشدون حيلهم بزيادة، خصوصا أن المنعطفات فيه جدا الصعبة، لكن بيحاول يسوي اللي عليه.
You're a humble guy, Josh. I like it. Yeah, it's good though, man. You've done really, really well today. Congratulations. Obviously, only one race on the board. I saw that, Cabbage. I saw that. That was great. With that, I'm going to send it back over to the desk so that they can break everything down and discuss the team leaderboards as well, because there's a lot of tension building in this room, and I'm pretty sure you know why. So let's send it back to the desk so they can chat about everything for our final race of the qualifiers for the team championship.
Well, you did not get that. We were actually playing rock, paper, scissors, and I won, so let's go back to the desk now. أعزائي المشاهدين خلينا نروح على الاستديو نشوف تفاصيلها ونرجع في السباق الجاي.